Dr. Sarah Chen walked through the quiet halls of New Harmony Station. Her footsteps echoed in the empty corridors. The sound was the only music allowed here now. 3 years ago, everything changed. The Zilithian Concordat took control of all human colonies. They said they came in peace. They brought advanced technology and medicine. But they also brought rules, many rules. The worst rule was the Sonic Preservation Act. No Earth songs were allowed. No humming. No singing. No music from home. The Zilithians said human music was dangerous. They claimed it created bad frequencies that hurt their brains. Anyone caught singing Earth songs would be sent to prison worlds far away. Sarah remembered the day they announced this rule. She was in her small apartment with her 3-year-old daughter Emma. The alien announcement came through their communication system. The voice was cold and flat. Human musical expressions contained psychic frequencies that disrupt Zilithian neural networks. All Earth-origin sonic patterns are now forbidden. Violations will result in immediate deportation. Emma had been humming a song Sarah taught her, a simple lullaby about twinkle stars. When the announcement ended, Emma looked up with big eyes. "Mommy, can I still sing the star song?" Sarah's heart broke. "Not anymore, baby. We have to be quiet now." That was 3 years ago. Now Emma was 6 years old. She had never heard a real song since then. The Zilithians allowed only their approved sounds. These were cold, mathematical melodies with no soul. They sounded like computers trying to make music. Sarah worked in the research lab every day. She studied alien plants and animals. The work was interesting, but the silence made everything feel empty. Other humans worked there too. They all moved quietly. They spoke in whispers. Sometimes, Sarah saw tears in their eyes. The Zilithians were tall, thin creatures with gray skin. Their heads were large and oval-shaped. They had no hair and big black eyes. They spoke in perfect English. But their voices had no emotion. They moved like machines. Everything they did was logical and efficient. Commander HFY was in charge of the station. He visited the research lab often. He would stand behind the human workers and watch them. His presence made everyone nervous. He never smiled or showed any feelings. To him, humans were just useful tools. "Dr. Chen," he said one day, appearing behind her workstation. "Your productivity has decreased by 3% this month." Sarah turned around slowly. "I'm sorry, Commander. I'll work harder." "Emotional disturbance affects work quality," HFY said. "Perhaps you require medical adjustment." The thought scared Sarah. Medical adjustment meant they would change her brain chemistry. Some humans had received this treatment. They came back different. Empty. They worked perfectly but never laughed or cried again. "I'm fine, Commander. Just tired." HFY stared at her for a long moment. His black eyes showed nothing. Finally, he walked away. That evening, Sarah picked up Emma from the daycare center. The Zilithian caretakers were efficient but cold. They fed the children approved nutrition blocks and taught them basic math and science. They never played games or told stories. Emma ran to her mother with excitement. "Mommy, I learned about star systems today." "Did you know that Zilithian Prime has 3 suns?" Sarah smiled sadly. Emma was smart and curious. But she was growing up without wonder or imagination. The child had never heard a fairy tale song or a silly rhyme. She didn't know about Christmas carols or birthday songs. They walked home through the residential section. Other families moved quietly around them. Children played silent games. Parents spoke in low voices. Everyone looked tired. Their apartment was small but clean. The Zilithians provided basic housing for all humans. The walls were gray metal. There were no decorations allowed, except for approved educational materials. Emma sat at their small table to eat her dinner. The food was nutritious but bland. Everything the Zilithians made was practical but joyless. "Mommy," Emma said quietly, "why can't we make happy sounds anymore?" Sarah looked around carefully. Even in their private apartment, There might be listening devices. Because the new rulers think our sounds are harmful. Are they harmful? Sarah remembered singing with her own mother. She remembered church hymns and folk songs. She remembered the joy in her grandmother's voice when she sang old country ballads. None of that felt harmful. It felt like love. No, sweetie. Our sounds are beautiful. But we have to follow the rules. After dinner, Sarah helped Emma get ready for bed. The child brushed her teeth and put on her sleeping clothes. Then, she climbed into her narrow bed. "Mommy," Emma whispered, "I have dreams sometimes. I hear beautiful sounds in my dreams. Is that okay?" Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Even in sleep, the human spirit tried to find music. "Dreams are always okay, baby. Dreams are free." She tucked Emma under the thin blanket. The child's eyes closed slowly. Sarah sat beside her until she fell asleep. Then she went to her own small room. Before bed, Sarah looked out her tiny window. She could see the station's main corridor. Zilithian guards walked back and forth. Their movements were precise and mechanical. They never hurried or wandered. They never stopped to look at anything beautiful. Above them, through the station's transparent dome, stars shone in the darkness. Sarah remembered a song about wishing on stars. She wondered if Emma's dreams would ever include that melody. In the distance, she could see other human quarters. Behind those windows, families were preparing for sleep. Children were being tucked into bed without lullabies. Parents were saying goodnight without songs. The silence felt heavy and wrong. Humans were meant to make music. They were meant to sing their joy and sorrow. They were meant to comfort their children with gentle melodies. The Zilithians had taken away something essential to human nature. Sarah touched the window glass. It was cold against her palm. Somewhere beyond these walls was Earth. On Earth, people still sang. They still made music. They still passed down songs from generation to generation. But here on New Harmony Station, the music had died, and Sarah wondered if it would ever return. Marcus Webb fixed broken pipes in the lower levels of the station. His job took him to places where Zilithians rarely went. The maintenance tunnels were dark and quiet. They smelled of metal and recycled air. Marcus used to be a music teacher on Earth. He taught children how to play piano and guitar. He led church choirs and school concerts. Now he carried tools instead of sheet music, but he had not forgotten the songs. One night, Sarah met him in Cargo Bay 7. The bay had been empty for months. Old supply containers were stacked against the walls. The lighting was dim. It was the perfect place for secret meetings. "Dr. Chen," Marcus whispered when she entered. "Thank you for coming." Sarah looked around nervously. "Is it safe here?" "Safe enough. The surveillance cameras don't work in this section. I made sure of that." Other humans emerged from behind the containers. There were about 15 people total. Sarah recognized some of them. Dr. Kim from the medical center. Janet, from food services. 2 teachers from the school. They all looked scared but determined. "Welcome to the underground," Marcus said softly. "We preserve what they tried to take from us." He pulled out a small device. It looked like a broken communicator. But when he pressed a button, it played a few seconds of music. The sound was scratchy and low. But it was beautiful, Sarah gasped. She hadn't heard real music in years. Her eyes filled with tears. "Beethoven's Ninth Symphony," Marcus explained. "I saved the file before they made us delete everything." The others gathered closer. They listened with hungry expressions. Music was like food to starving people. "We have other pieces," said Dr. Kim. "Folk songs, jazz recordings, children's songs. We're building a library," Marcus added. "Saving what we can. Teaching the songs to anyone who wants to learn. Quietly, carefully." Sarah thought about Emma. Her daughter had never heard these beautiful sounds. Is it worth the risk? If they catch us? If we don't try? "We lose everything," Marcus replied. "Our children will grow up empty. Without joy. Without the songs that make us human." Janet stepped forward. She was an older woman with gray hair. I remember my grandmother's lullabies. I've been teaching them to my granddaughter, just humming them very quietly at bedtime. The key is to be smart about it, Marcus explained. Never sing loudly. Never in public areas. And never near the Zilithian quarters. They spent an hour sharing fragments of songs. Someone hummed a few bars of an old country tune. Another person whispered the words to a children's rhyme. Sarah learned part of a Christmas carol she had forgotten. When the meeting ended, Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. But that hope was tested sooner than she expected. 2 weeks later, Emma woke up with a fever. Sarah touched her daughter's forehead. It was burning hot. "I don't feel good, Mommy," Emma whispered. Sarah took her to the medical center immediately. The Zilithian doctors examined Emma with their cold, efficient methods. They ran tests and scanned her body with strange machines. "The child has an infection," one doctor reported. "Unknown origin. We will apply standard treatment protocols." They gave Emma medicines and put her in a hospital bed. The room was white and sterile. There were no pictures on the walls, no toys, nothing to comfort a sick child. The treatment didn't work. Emma's fever got worse. She became weak and confused. Sometimes she cried for no reason. Other times she stared at the ceiling with empty eyes. "The infection is not responding to our methods," the Zilithian doctor told Sarah. "The child's immune system appears to be failing." Dr. Kim visited when she could. She was human and understood emotions better than the aliens. She sat with Sarah in the cold hospital room. "I've seen this before," Dr. Kim said quietly. "In other human children. Their bodies are healthy, but something else is wrong. Something the Zilithian medicine can't fix." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "They call it psychological incompatibility. The children need something the aliens can't provide. Emotional comfort. Love expressed through human ways. Songs and stories. And gentle touches." Sarah looked at Emma. Her daughter lay still under the thin white sheets. Her breathing was shallow. Her skin was pale. "What can we do?" Dr. Kim shook her head sadly. "I don't know. The Zilithians don't understand human emotional needs. They think everything can be fixed with their technology." Meanwhile, something strange was happening to Commander Zexhai. He had been experiencing what he called data corruption in his neural networks. Random sounds played in his head, fragments of melodies that seemed to come from nowhere. He reported this to the station's computer technicians. They ran diagnostics on all the systems. They found nothing wrong. "Perhaps it is residual data from before the Sonic Preservation Act," one technician suggested. "Old human music files that were not completely deleted." Zexhai found this explanation logical, but the sounds continued. They seemed to appear when he was near the human quarters, or when he passed the medical center. The melodies were unlike Zilithian communication patterns. They had no obvious purpose. They carried no useful information. But somehow, they created patterns in his thoughts that felt different. As Emma's condition worsened, Sarah spent every moment she could at the hospital. She held her daughter's hand. She whispered stories about Earth. She tried to comfort the child in the only ways the rules allowed, but it wasn't enough. Emma grew weaker every day. On the 4th night, Sarah sat alone in the dark hospital room. Emma was sleeping restlessly. Her fever was very high now. The Zilithian doctors said they had tried everything. Sarah felt helpless and angry. On Earth, sick children were comforted with lullabies and gentle songs. Parents sang to help their little ones feel safe and loved. But here, in this cold place, even that simple comfort was forbidden. She looked around the room carefully. There were no visible cameras or listening devices. The Zilithians rarely monitored the medical areas at night. They trusted their technology to alert them if anything important happened. Sarah leaned close to Emma's bed. Her daughter's breathing was soft and troubled. She looked so small and fragile. "I love you, baby," Sarah whispered. Emma's eyes opened slightly. "Mommy? I'm here, sweetie. Try to sleep." "I'm scared," Emma said weakly. Sarah's heart broke. She wanted to sing to her daughter. She wanted to fill the cold room with warm melodies. She wanted to give Emma the comfort that every human child deserved. But the rules were clear. The punishment was severe. If they caught her singing, they would take Emma away forever. So Sarah sat in silence, holding her daughter's hot hand, and watched her get sicker and sicker. Christmas Eve came to New Harmony Station like any other day. The Zilithians did not celebrate human holidays. To them, it was just another rotation of the station around the local star. But the humans remembered. Sarah had been at Emma's bedside for 6 days now. Her daughter was getting worse. The fever burned higher each night. Emma talked to people who weren't there. Sometimes, she cried without knowing why. The Zilithian doctors had given up. They said Emma's condition was psychologically incompatible with standard treatment protocols. They meant her human mind was rejecting their alien medicine. Dr. Kim visited that evening. She looked tired and sad. "I'm sorry, Sarah. We've tried everything we know how to try. There has to be something," Sarah said. Her voice was desperate. Dr. Kim sat down slowly. On Earth, sick children had their families around them. They had stories and songs. They had comfort that went beyond medicine. But we can't give her that here. No, we can't. Dr. Kim stood up. "I'll check on her again in the morning." After Dr. Kim left, Sarah was alone with Emma. The hospital was very quiet at night. Most of the alien staff went to their rest periods. Only emergency medical systems stayed active. Emma opened her eyes. They were bright with fever. "Mommy, where are the happy sounds?" Sarah didn't understand. "What happy sounds, baby?" "I hear them sometimes. In my dreams. Beautiful sounds that make me feel safe. Why can't I hear them when I'm awake?" Sarah's heart ached. Emma was dreaming about music. Even sick and feverish, her human soul was searching for songs. "Tell me about the sounds," Sarah whispered. "They're soft and warm, like hugs made of air." A lady's voice singing about peace and light. About sleeping safe through the night. Sarah realized what Emma was describing. A lullaby. Her daughter's mind was creating the comfort it needed, but could never have in the real world. "I want to hear the happy sounds," Emma said weakly. "Please, Mommy. I'm so scared." Sarah looked around the room. The monitoring equipment beeped softly. Red and green lights blinked on the medical machines. Everything was connected to the station's central computer system. If she sang to Emma, the audio sensors would detect it immediately. Commander HFY would be alerted within seconds. They would come and take her away. Emma would die alone. But if she didn't sing, Emma might die anyway. And her daughter's last memory would be fear and sadness. Emma's hand was so hot and small in hers. "Mommy, please. I just want to feel safe." Sarah made her decision. She leaned close to Emma's ear. In the softest voice she could manage, she began to sing. "Silent night, holy night. All is calm. All is bright." Emma's eyes widened with wonder. She had never heard her mother's singing voice before. It was gentle and sweet. "Round yon virgin, mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild." Sarah didn't notice that the room's audio sensors were active. The monitoring system was designed to record everything for medical analysis. Her soft lullaby was being transmitted through the station's communication network. In his private quarters, Commander HFY received an emergency alert on his personal communicator. Unauthorized sonic emissions detected in Medical Bay 4. He stood up quickly. Finally, he had caught a human violating the Sonic Preservation Act. He would make an example of this lawbreaker. But when he activated his audio feed to hear the violation, something strange happened. The sound coming through his speakers was unlike anything in his experience. It wasn't loud or harsh like he expected human music to be. It was soft and flowing. The tones moved in patterns that seemed to bypass his logical analysis centers. "Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace." HFY's brain tried to categorize what he was hearing. It wasn't data transmission. It wasn't communication in any format he understood. But somehow, it created feelings in his neural networks that he had never experienced before. The melody was simple but perfect. Each note led naturally to the next. The rhythm matched the slow beating of organic hearts. The words spoke of safety and comfort and love. For the first time in his life, HFY felt something he couldn't name. It was warm and peaceful. It made him think of concepts that had no place in Zilithian logic. Home. Safety. Being cared for. In the medical bay, Emma was changing too. Her breathing became deeper and more regular. Some of the tension left her small body. She smiled for the first time in days. "That's beautiful, Mommy," she whispered. Sarah continued singing. Silent night, holy night. Shepherds quake at the sight. The lullaby was spreading through the station's network. Other Zilithians heard it through their communication devices. They stopped their activities to listen. Their analytical minds couldn't process what they were experiencing. In the human quarters, people heard the soft singing coming through their wall speakers. They recognized the song instantly. Many of them began to cry. Mrs. Rodriguez pressed her face to her apartment's communication panel. Silent Night had been her mother's favorite song. She hadn't heard it in 3 years. Dr. Kim was in her quarters when the music reached her. She sat down hard in her chair. The beautiful melody filled her empty heart with hope. Throughout the station, humans heard their heritage calling to them. Some began to hum along quietly. Others whispered the words. After years of silence, their souls were awakening. In Cargo Bay 7, Marcus Webb was working late. When the lullaby reached his audio system, he dropped his tools and wept. He recognized Sarah's voice. She was taking an enormous risk to comfort her dying child. Commander HFY found himself walking toward Medical Bay 4. But he wasn't moving to arrest the lawbreaker. He was drawn by something he couldn't understand. The music was doing things to his thoughts that seemed impossible. As he got closer, the sound became clearer. It wasn't just noise or random frequency patterns. It was communication at a level deeper than words. It spoke directly to emotional centers that Zilithians didn't know they had. Glories stream from heaven afar. Heavenly hosts sing, Hallelujah. Emma's fever was breaking. Sarah could feel the heat leaving her daughter's forehead. The little girl's eyes were becoming clearer and more focused. "Sing more, Mommy," Emma said. Her voice was stronger than it had been all week. Sarah realized what was happening. The lullaby wasn't just comforting Emma. It was healing her. The human soul needed human music the way the body needed air and water, but she also realized that her singing was being broadcast throughout the station. Soon, the Zilithians would come to stop her. They would separate her from Emma forever. She decided it didn't matter. If these were the last moments she would have with her daughter, she would fill them with love and music. Christ the Savior is born. Christ the Savior is born. As the last notes of the lullaby faded, Sarah heard footsteps in the corridor outside. They were coming for her. Commander HFY stood outside Medical Bay 4. His hand was raised to activate the door controls, but he hesitated. Through the thin walls, he could still hear Sarah's voice. She was singing another song now, something about angels and shepherds and hope. The melody was different from the first one, but it created the same impossible feelings in his neural networks. HFY's logical mind said he should arrest the human immediately. The law was clear. She was violating the Sonic Preservation Act. But something deeper in his consciousness wouldn't let him move. He had spent 3 years believing that human music was dangerous chaos. He had seen the scientific reports that proved human frequencies disrupted Zilithian brain patterns. But this sound wasn't causing disruption. It was creating order in a way he had never experienced before. Inside the room, Emma was sitting up in her bed. Her fever was almost gone. Her cheeks had color again. She was looking at her mother with bright, healthy eyes. "I feel better, Mommy," she said softly. The happy sounds made me feel safe. Sarah stopped singing and hugged her daughter carefully. "I love you so much, baby." "I love you too. Will you teach me that song?" Before Sarah could answer, the door opened. Commander HFY stepped into the room. Sarah pulled Emma closer and prepared for the worst, but HFY didn't move to arrest her. He stood in the doorway, looking confused and uncertain. His usual cold confidence was gone. "Dr. Chen," he said slowly. "You were singing." "Yes," Sarah replied. There was no point in denying it. Why? The question surprised her. She had expected accusations and punishment. "Not curiosity. Because my daughter was dying," Sarah said. "Because she needed comfort. Because sometimes medicine isn't enough." HFY stepped closer to Emma's bed. He studied the child's improved condition. His analytical mind processed the obvious connection between the music and her recovery. "The audio sensors recorded everything," he told Sarah. "The entire station heard your sounds." Sarah waited for him to continue. To tell her she was under arrest. To order guards to take her away. Instead, HFY did something unprecedented. He sat down in the chair beside Emma's bed. "What did the singing accomplish?" he asked. Sarah wasn't sure how to answer. It made her feel loved. It gave her peace. It reminded her that she wasn't alone. "These are emotional concepts," HFY observed. "We were told that human emotions were primitive and inefficient." "Emotions aren't primitive," Sarah said carefully. "They're what make us human. They're how we connect to each other. How we show care and love." HFY was quiet for a long moment. He was experiencing something that challenged everything he thought he knew about humans and their culture. Through his communicator, he was receiving reports from all over the station. Other Zilithians were describing strange sensations they felt while listening to Sarah's lullaby. They used words like pleasant and peaceful, concepts that had no place in their usual vocabulary. "Commander," came a voice through his device. "This is Science Officer Veldan. I must report unusual neural activity following exposure to the human sonic emissions." "Explain," HFY replied. "The frequencies created harmonic patterns in our thought processes. Instead of chaos, they produced organization, clarity, enhanced cognitive function." More reports came in. Engineering reported that Zilithians who heard the music were working more efficiently. Medical noted improved mood markers in all staff who were exposed to the sounds. HFY looked at Emma. The child was still weak, but clearly recovering. "How do you feel now, young human?" Emma smiled shyly. "Better." The music made the scared feelings go away. "What are scared feelings?" HFY asked. Sarah was amazed by his interest. "Fear is what happens when we think something bad might happen, when we feel alone or unsafe. And the music removes this fear?" "It doesn't remove it exactly. It reminds us that we're loved, that someone cares about us. That makes us feel brave enough to face the scary things." HFY's neural networks were processing this information in new ways. For years, Zilithians had treated emotions as malfunctions to be corrected. But what if emotions were actually sophisticated communication and healing systems? "Dr. Chen," he said slowly, "would you sing again?" "I wish to." "Study the effects." Sarah looked at him suspiciously. Was this a trick? A way to gather more evidence against her? "Please, Mommy," Emma said. "I want to hear more songs." Sarah decided to trust her instincts. She began to sing another Christmas carol. "O holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth." As her voice filled the room, HFY felt the strange sensations return. But this time, he didn't try to analyze them. He simply let himself experience them. The melody seemed to tell a story, not with words, exactly, but with emotional meaning that bypassed language entirely. It spoke of hope in darkness, of love overcoming fear, of peace being possible even in difficult times. Through the station's communication network, the song reached other humans. In their apartments and workstations, people began to sing along quietly. For the first time in 3 years, human voices joined together in harmony. Marcus Webb heard the singing in his maintenance tunnel. He climbed up to a ventilation grate and added his voice to the chorus. Dr. Kim sang from her quarters. Missus Rodriguez taught the words to her granddaughter. The Zilithians throughout the station were experiencing something revolutionary. Their rigid, logical minds were discovering new ways of processing information. The human music wasn't disrupting their thoughts, it was enhancing them. In the command center, Science Officer Veldan was monitoring brain scans of all exposed personnel. The results were extraordinary. "Commander," she reported to HFY through his communicator, "the human frequencies are creating new neural pathways in our minds. We're developing cognitive abilities we didn't know were possible." "What kind of abilities?" HFY asked. "Pattern recognition beyond pure logic. Emotional intelligence. Enhanced creativity. The humans aren't attacking our minds with their music. They're teaching our minds to grow." HFY looked at Sarah with new understanding. "We have made an error," he said quietly. Sarah stopped singing. "What do you mean? We thought your music was primitive noise. We believed it threatened our mental stability. But we were wrong." He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see human quarters throughout the station. Behind those windows, families were singing together for the first time in years. "Your music is not destruction," he said. "It is construction. It builds connections between minds and hearts. It heals things we didn't know were broken." Emma clapped her hands softly. "Does this mean we can sing whenever we want now?" HFY turned back to face them. His alien features showed something that might have been wonder. "I must consult with the Zilithian Council," he said. "But first, I have a request." "What?" Sarah asked. "Would you teach me more of your songs? I believe we have much to learn from your species." For the first time since the aliens had taken control, Sarah smiled with real hope. The emergency meeting of the Zilithian High Council took place the next morning. Commander HFY stood before 7 of the most powerful aliens in known space. Their oval heads and large black eyes stared at him with cold attention. "You summoned us for an urgent matter," said Council Leader HFY. "Explain." HFY activated a recording device. Sarah's lullaby filled the council chamber. The alien leaders listened with their usual expressionless faces. But as the music continued, subtle changes appeared in their posture and breathing. When the song ended, the chamber was silent. "This is a violation of the Sonic Preservation Act," observed Council Member Kelnoth. "Why have you not arrested the human?" "Because our understanding was incomplete," HFY replied. He presented his data files. "I have documented evidence that human music enhances Zilithian cognitive function, rather than disrupting it." The council members examined his research. Brain scans showed improved neural activity in all Zilithians exposed to human singing. Work efficiency reports revealed increased productivity and problem-solving abilities. "These results seem impossible," said HFY. "I thought so as well," HFY admitted. "But I have observed the effects personally. The human music creates new connections in our minds. It unlocks cognitive abilities we never knew we possessed." Council Member Veltara, the oldest and most conservative member, spoke up. "Our scientists proved that human frequencies cause mental chaos in our species. Our scientists made an error," HFY said carefully. "They studied human music as isolated sound patterns. They did not consider the emotional context that gives the music its true power." He showed them recordings from throughout the station. Zilithian workers singing alongside humans. Alien doctors discovering that music helped them better understand their human patients. Engineers finding creative solutions to problems while listening to human melodies. "The humans call it emotional intelligence," HFY explained. "It is a form of cognitive processing that we have been missing. Their music teaches us how to think with both logic and feeling." Council Leader HFY was studying medical reports about Emma's recovery. This child's improvement coincided exactly with exposure to human vocal patterns. "Yes," HFY confirmed. "The humans have healing methods that our technology cannot replicate. They cure ailments of the spirit as well as the body." The council debated for hours. Some members argued for maintaining the ban. Others were curious about the potential benefits of allowing human music. Finally, HFY called for a vote. "All in favor of repealing the Sonic Preservation Act?" 4 hands rose. 3 remained down. "The motion passes," HFY announced. Human musical expression is no longer forbidden. Commander HFY, you will oversee the transition period. When HFY returned to the station, he found something remarkable happening. Word of the Council's decision had spread quickly. In the main corridor, humans and Zilithians were gathered together. Someone was teaching alien workers simple human songs. Marcus Webb was leading an impromptu choir. His voice echoed through the station as humans and aliens tried to sing together. The Zilithians struggled with the emotional expressions. But they were learning. Sarah was in the medical bay with Emma. Her daughter was fully recovered now. The fever was gone, and her energy had returned. Dr. Kim was teaching them both a folk song that her grandmother used to sing. Dr. Chen, HFY said as he entered the room, I have news. Sarah looked up nervously. What kind of news? The Sonic Preservation Act has been repealed. Human music is no longer forbidden. Emma jumped up and down with excitement. Does that mean we can sing all the time now? Yes, young human. You can sing whenever you wish. Sarah felt tears of joy in her eyes. Thank you, Commander. This means everything to our people. There is more, HFY continued. The Council has approved a new position, Director of Interspecies Harmony. They want you to teach Zilithians about human emotional communication. Sarah was amazed. 3 days ago, she was facing deportation for singing to her sick daughter. Now she was being offered a job to share human culture with the entire alien species. I accept, she said without hesitation. Over the following weeks, New Harmony Station transformed completely. Music returned to human life in wonderful ways. Children learned lullabies and playground songs. Adults sang while they worked. Families shared melodies around dinner tables. But the real magic happened when humans and Zilithians began making music together. The aliens had their own forms of sound communication, complex harmonic frequencies that carried precise information. When combined with human emotional melodies, something entirely new was created. Sarah established the first Interspecies Music Academy in Cargo Bay 7. The same place where Marcus Webb had once hidden human songs was now a center of cultural exchange. Zilithian students learned about rhythm and melody. Human students explored alien harmonic theories. Together, they created hybrid compositions that neither species could have imagined alone. Commander HFY became Sarah's most dedicated student. His logical mind found patterns in human music that even humans didn't fully understand. He learned to appreciate not just the mathematical structure of songs, but their emotional impact as well. Music is not just sound, he told Sarah during one lesson. It is a form of consciousness made audible. When humans sing, they share their inner experience with others. That's a beautiful way to put it, Sarah replied. You're becoming quite poetic for a Zilithian. Perhaps poetry and logic are not as different as we thought, HFY mused. The Academy's first major performance was scheduled for Christmas Eve, exactly 1 year after Sarah's lullaby had changed everything. The entire station gathered in the main auditorium. The program began with traditional human Christmas carols. Voices filled the space with familiar melodies that brought tears to many human eyes. Children who had been born on the station heard these songs for the first time. Then the Zilithian choir performed their ancient harmonic compositions. The sounds were unlike anything humans had ever experienced. Complex mathematical patterns that somehow expressed deep emotions without words. Finally, both species joined together for the finale. They sang Silent Night in a new arrangement that combined human melody with Zilithian harmonics. The result was breathtakingly beautiful, a perfect blend of logic and emotion, mathematics and feeling. As the last notes faded, the audience was silent for a long moment. Then applause erupted throughout the auditorium. Humans and Zilithians stood together, celebrating their shared achievement. Later that evening, Sarah and Emma walked through the station's observation deck. Snow was falling outside the dome. The first artificial winter the Zilithians had created for human comfort. Mommy, Emma said, sing me the star song again. Sarah smiled and began the lullaby that had started it all. Her voice was joined by others throughout the deck. Humans and aliens alike added their voices to the gentle melody. As they sang together under the falling snow, Sarah realized that something miraculous had happened. Two species had found a way to bridge the gap between their different minds and hearts. Through music, they had discovered that emotions and logic could work together to create something greater than either could achieve alone. The stars beyond the dome seemed to twinkle in rhythm with their song. And for the first time since leaving Earth, Sarah felt truly at home among the stars.